Hey there, horror movie tea sippers.
The following podcast will contain spoilers for the movie we are about to review. If you have not seen the movie and do not wish to have anything ruined prematurely, then please do not continue to listen until after you have seen the movie.
And welcome to the Horror Movie Tea Podcast. Today, for our second Halloween video, or first, one of the two. I lost track. We are doing two. Thank you. We are
2 plus a bonus.
Okay. But we are doing the classic Friday the 13th. We're just full of classics this month, guys.
Well, we gotta do the grades.
Yes. Yes. We have to have a baseline so in the following years we can't live up to expectations. Because that's how that goes, right? But anyways, we have a special tea that we're drinking for this occasion. We've been waiting months to drink this tea.
We got it a little early. We kind of jumped the gun.
Yeah.
But it's Friday the 13th from Brutalities.
Freaking
and
great
it's
name.
Delicious.
Yes, it is so good. We watched Friday the 13th a little bit before recording this episode, and I couldn't wait to try it. So I have tried it with and without milk, and for anyone out there who gives it a try, the tea by itself without milk is actually pretty darn good.
Really good. It's really good. It's one of the few chais that you can do without milk, and it tastes great.
Yeah. But if you do use milk, make it twice as strong as it says to, because otherwise it waters it down way too much and you can't taste much.
You lose some of the awesome flavor, and that's just the sadness.
Yeah, I honestly wish that Brutalities would have added, like, if you'd like to add milk, this is the recommended recipe or ratio. That would have been kind of nice. But I know not everyone uses milk with chai, but it's just so iconic to use milk with chai.
It's a pretty common thing with chai to use milk.
Yeah. It's like, I know that's not what necessarily makes it chai tea, but it's extremely common. It's like every time you order chai tea, like out at restaurants, it's coming with milk. But
also, I learned that chai is actually the Indian word for tea. So
so we're saying tea?
It's tea flavored tea. So but it's been changed or altered over here to mean it's a particular kind of tea for us. So to them, chai is tea.
That's interesting.
But this particular kind of tea is, I think, masala tea, is what I was told. It's a kind of spice tea.
That's interesting.
Yes. So I learned something new earlier this week, and I wanted to share that with everyone. I thought it was funny.
I did.
We're just saying it's tea-flavored tea.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I did find a recipe on how to make chai tea, and it kind of looks like a pain in the butt. Like, you just boil a bunch of different types of spices. Like, I think anise was one of them, and then cinnamon.
Star anise, cinnamon, cloves, cardamom, I think, and a few others.
Yeah, it's just so much easier because literally they grind up all of the ingredients and put it in a nice little loose leaf tea, so you can very easily just not have to worry about the extra stuff. Yeah. Yes.
We're lazy and this is delicious, so you know.
But anyways, off to the summary. So I feel like the first movie is kind of forgotten because whenever you say Friday the 13th, you automatically think Jason. But
this one is a little bit different. But it is still a slasher type movie.
Yeah.
It does have a serial killer, basically, or mass killer. It's a multi-murder movie, but it's not necessarily like a serial killer.
Yeah.
It's a mass murderer.
Yeah. But for those who are just listening that know the base of the series but have never watched the movies, it ends up that the killer is Jason's mom, and
Dun, dun, dun.
she's essentially taking revenge on him because he died as a kid. He drowned because the counselors weren't paying attention. And so the mother's like, it's completely logical to kill every single counselor that ever comes to the camp to punish them for killing my son.
Well, she kind of misplaces her anger.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want the camp to reopen. So anytime they start to look like they're going to reopen, she kills the counselors that come to reopen it. And she sees them as the counselors that neglected to watch her son when he was swimming and ended up drowning.
Yeah.
Because they were being horny teenagers, apparently.
Yeah.
And, so.
And honestly, I'll move on to the entertainment scale first. So you guys get the basic summary that they try and reopen the camp, murders start happening, big twist, it's the mom. Well, I guess the super big twist is at the end, the one surviving person gets like attacked by zombie Jason. But then doesn't she wake up in the hospital?
Yeah, she wakes up
Afterwards?
in the hospital, so you kind of wonder if it really happened or not.
Yeah.
She does ask, "Did you find the boy, the one in the lake?" And they're like, "We pulled you out of the lake. There was no one else there. We didn't see anyone else." And she says, "Then he's still there." And it just cuts to the scene of the lake.
Yeah.
Really calm looking, clear, very few ripples. It's just a very calm scene.
Yeah.
But you wonder.
Yeah, like it kind of closes it off, but then leaves it like slightly open. But
I think they were definitely thinking there was going to be sequels.
yeah. But entertainment scale. So I feel like you might have more to say on this movie than me. For me personally, some people are really going to hate me for this. But even though it's a classic, and I completely acknowledge it is a classic and it deserves to be where it is, because it's just, it's not quite as unique as Evil Dead, but there's some scenes that are just way over the top and super funny. But this isn't one of those movies that, it's like if I had a list of classics that I want to watch, it's not going to be one of my first choice. Honestly, out of all of the classics, it's probably going to be one of my last choices. And because of that, you know, if I gave it a 7, that would be for a movie that I would want to go back and rewatch. And this just isn't, it's like I feel satisfied watching it once and maybe once every like decade or something. So I'm going to give it a 6 for me personally.
Yeah. I want to give it higher, but it's not one of my favorites. The first one isn't my favorite. It's a good twist, and it is a good movie and all, and it is the quintessential mass murderer movie. Like it's one of the ones that started it all. So I gotta give it props for that, but at the same time, it's not the first Jason movie that I would go for right off the bat. It's not the first Friday the 13th that I would pick up on a whim. So I would honestly give it a 6 too. I like the movie. It was a good movie, and I really like the twist and everything, and how she plays it off. Mm-hmm. It's really well done. It's creepy. Yeah. How she's trying to talk in her kid's voice and having a conversation with herself, kind of like Psycho. Yeah. But reversed. Mm-hmm. And it does come across as very creepy, but it's still not my favorite of the series.
Yeah.
It's not the first one I think of. And I know it's not the first one others think of either.
Yeah.
It is the one that started it all, and it was good, but And I
Yeah.
can't bring myself to give it higher.
And it is kind of strange because I feel like in more modern culture, the Jason mask is a little bit more often used to represent horror than like the Halloween mask from Michael Myers.
It is.
But I feel like Halloween was way better of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's way more
I agree.
iconic and like
We'll
way
get to that
more.
one later, though.
Yeah. But yeah, to be said for another time.
Yes.
But yeah, and I mean like it's not like the twist and stuff is good. And honestly, we should have looked at the trivia. I would have been really curious to know if the filmmakers were like, "Oh, let's have like a reverse Psycho," because it does. Once you figure out the twist, does make
It's
sense.
very Psycho-esque.
But like the movie itself, like the characters aren't necessarily super lovable. I mean, they're not. You don't want them to die. They're not hateable characters,
No.
but they're not. Yeah, not all of them.
You're not upset when they die.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it is pretty typical at that time to have those types of characters. But yeah, it
I actually found myself not really rooting for the good ones. Like, I just don't care. They didn't really
Yeah.
make me care that much about the characters.
exactly. And honestly, I'm not saying that the innocent counselor deserved to die, but with the way that they're acting, like I understand it's just them by themselves, but the way that they're acting, I can't really say I'd blame the mother for thinking that they're going to let another child die, you know? So,
Yeah, she definitely needed help, and she clearly didn't get it. But I still didn't really care that much about the characters as a whole. I thought some of the portrayals were really well done, and the kills were interesting and varied,
yeah.
which is typically a thing. That's a very common thing, even though everyone thinks of Jason with his machete. It's not always what he uses to kill when it is actually Jason later on. He uses a bow, an arrow, he uses, an axe. Like, he uses whatever's there. It's just more iconic to see him with a machete in hand.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Voorhees used a hunting knife, she used an arrow, she used an axe, she uses all kinds of things. And it's varied and interesting. So it's not just the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah. And the atmosphere too, like the cinematography, some of the shots are pretty interesting, and of course the iconic, let's see if I can do that thing.
Yes.
Like that is of course super like iconic. It's like you could just hear that and you immediately are like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it's kind of low budgety and all, and I'm sure it was a little cheesy at first, but it's such an iconic sound now that it's completely associated with that movie. You can't hear it and not think Friday the 13th or Jason or something to that effect. You know exactly where it comes from.
Yeah, so it's like even though I don't think it's the greatest movie of all time, I can definitely see why it stuck as a horror movie.
It influenced many others.
Yeah.
For sure. It's referenced in so many other movies and everything. Even in just a comedy kind of reference, it still influences other genres and other movies.
Yeah.
To this day. So, props for that. For sure. We didn't hate it or anything like that. It's just not the movie that we would go for first.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why we didn't go for it first.
Yeah.
So that's about all I have on the entertainment scale, honestly. Like, it's the quintessential mass murderer movie. There's not really much to it. It's very cut and dry. There's not that much to delve into.
Yeah.
I mean, we could delve a little bit into her psychological state and all that, but there's not really a need. Again, it's very straightforward. You know exactly why she is the way she is and why she's doing these things. Yes, it's wrong, but it's still fairly entertaining.
And I will say, I will give it props for explaining what her motivation is in such a short period of time, because you don't find that out until like the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then so once you understand the motive and the fact that she's still like coming after this particular person to kill them, it is kind of eerie, especially whenever you hear her like talking back and forth between for herself. It's a little bit jarring, but I think that was definitely really well done. Like this movie, it was well put together. It seemed pretty focused. It knew what it wanted. And I think it accomplished it. It just...
and it didn't lose sight of it halfway through the movie, like a lot of other ones do, especially these days.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
starts out being one thing, and then they switch and go a completely different direction for no reason.
Yeah. Yep.
So this one is nice. Again, very straightforward, cut and dry. Like, you know exactly what you're getting into when you start up this movie.
Yeah.
And they do have kills all throughout the movie. And they start off pretty early with one.
Yeah.
So you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what's going on.
Yep. So, off to realism. Oh, this might be more of a toughie. Do you kind of have an idea on what you want to do? I'm
This one's a little difficult to rate, to be honest. I mean, there are some realistic parts, but others...
See, I find the majority of it is pretty out there. But, I mean, it's a slasher movie.
Exactly. And again, she was using what she had available. But, dang, woman is strong, and apparently she can teleport in some scenes. We'll get to that later. But...
Yeah, I feel like this movie... I'm feeling like a 4.
I feel like that would be fair.
Like, it's not totally crap, but as far as realism
goes... It's like
goes,
on the fence, kind of 4 to 5, maybe a 4.5.
Yeah.
Because it's like right in between there.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, I can see the scenario itself happening, where she's extremely upset that they're reopening the camp and everything.
Yeah.
And she's very against it, and she just snaps and kills everyone. I can see that kind of thing happening. And she used, again, what she had available. Okay, fine. But the way, like, for example, when she kills Kevin Bacon with an arrow through the throat, she was under the bed for that to happen. So was she under there the entire time they were having sex?
Holding her arrow, just like...
And then just waited for them to finish, which I guess was nice. And waited until one of them walked away. So, I mean, it is kind of easier to do it one at a time. That way, you know, you don't have multiple people fighting you off. Okay, I get that. But again, why were you hiding under the bed the entire time they were having sex?
Well, plus the arrow tips.
How did she know that bed was the one that they were gonna pick? There were several other beds in that room.
Yeah. Yeah. And then plus, like, the arrow, like, whenever you have, like, normal camp archery, like, the tips are a lot more blunt, but this was, like, an actual arrow. It's like, no camp is gonna... Yeah, no camp is gonna freaking have those types of arrowheads.
Those were, like, hunting arrow tips. And the ones that they would use at a camp would be target tips, which are very blunted, very rounded. They're probably not going to really do that much damage. They would bruise really bad. And I guess if you used enough force, you could potentially force it through someone, but it would take a lot.
That would hurt.
It would take a lot of force to go through someone, and it would really hurt.
That'd be like forcing a stick through someone.
And you can change the tips on a lot of the arrows. It just depends on the type of arrow.
But then is she carrying around a bunch of hunting tips randomly on the off chance that she finds an arrow that she can use? I have questions.
Yeah, that's
that I know are never going to be answered.
Or like the scene where one of them gets killed in the shower and she's just like, oh, and then I mean, that was, of course,
she didn't even try to fight her.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry. If I was in that situation, I would fight until my dying freaking breath. I don't care if I knew I was doomed. I would be putting up a fight the entire freaking time.
At least put your hands up.
Yeah, like, you know, it's okay if you like your arms. It's okay. Yeah.
Kick. Do something.
Yes. And there was I could have sworn there was another death kind of like that, where it's just like, they kind of were like, oh, okay, I'm going to die.
It was in the beginning when she chased down that first girl in the woods and she got a knife to the throat.
Yes, and she just stood there.
And I know that was more for the audience to let them know this is the kind of movie you're watching. But I mean,
as far as realism go, that definitely docks it a few points.
A little bit. And then when she kills the main head of the place, the one that bought it and owns it and is trying to fix it up, she killed him a good distance away. He was at the sign for the place that was a little ways away from the actual camp. And then the next scene, it looks like it's going on kind of at the same time. She kills someone else in the generator room.
Yeah.
Woman teleports. Like, she shuts off the power is what happens. And then she kills someone when they go to check on the generator. Yeah. But, and also, woman does not miss arm day to lift a grown man up and pin him to a door with stuff like arrows and knives and things. Takes some strength.
Yeah.
That's dead weight there. No pun intended. That's a lot of weight there, and there's no help. Woman does not miss leg day or arm day at all. Can you lift, bro? Because this woman sure can.
Yeah. Well, especially in the beginning of the movie, they very much allude to, I mean, they make you think it's Jason. Or possibly Jason. And
they make you think it's a man.
Like
a big, strong man.
It's always like man's hands that you see. Yeah. I'm sorry, there's no way it's her hands. Like I've seen some women with some more masculine hands, but you can
someone with some man hands.
Yeah, you can tell for the most part. Like this was a very strong guy that they used as a what do you call it? A bait and switch between
a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she was wearing gloves half the time too, which some of them are bulky. Mm-hmm. So if she was using like working gloves and all, it could really look like a male hand.
Yeah.
It could happen like that, and it's very easily misconstrued that way. But again, woman works out. I'm impressed.
Especially for someone her... I mean, she looked probably like upper 50s, would you say?
Upper 50s, lower 60s.
It's like, I don't know, your body, even if you exercise really well, your body does tend to degrade around that age, if not a little bit beforehand. So I don't even know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure there are probably examples of older people. There are
plenty of people that are able to do things like that, even at that age, and sometimes longer. I've known a couple of women in their 70s that they almost look kind of frail, but when they hug you, you think you're going to break. Because dang. I know my husband's great-grandmother, when she was around, she looked so fragile, and I was afraid to hug her, honestly, because I felt like I was going to break her. And then she hugged me, and she almost broke me. Woman was strong.
So if anything, good on Jason's mom for keeping fit.
Absolutely.
Even if the purpose was a bit not so good.
Not the good reason to do so. But still, that's very good that she's staying active and everything, keeping everything fit.
Yeah.
Not the best use of it, though.
See, we like to be optimists here at Horror Movie Tea.
If you need the motivation to work out. That's not the best motivation, but whatever floats your boat.
But yeah, I don't have much else to add on the realism scale. I mean, there's a few other examples
That's
but
about all I had too, honestly. This is, again, a very straightforward movie, so it's very hard to pick it apart for things. Their reactions were a little bit subpar.
Yeah.
There was almost no fighting back except the very last girl at the end. But, I mean, this movie is what it is. You know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to. So, I mean, most people either love it or hate it. And it is a good movie. We did like it. It's just not our favorite Halloween movie.
Yeah.
So, we'll get to some other ones, though, that we do really like to watch and really enjoy each year. So, stay tuned for those, for sure. If you have other suggestions or things like that, please let us know. And we want to know what y'all's favorite movie to watch around Halloween time is.
Mm-hmm.
Please leave a comment. Let us know what your favorites are around this time of year. If you have ones that you absolutely have to watch every year without fail around this time. I know some people have their Christmas movies that they love to watch. We have our horror movies that we love to watch for Halloween. I'm sure others do too. So let us know what they are. And do you have anything else as well, Alyssa?
No, I'm good. Not a lot to add here.
We've got a lot of other things planned. I think at this point we're kind of tapped.
Yeah.
So, until the next time, guys, y'all stay safe and stay spoopy.
Bye.
Bye.